All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Women in Technology, Defining Your Digital Career Path. Before we get started, a few announcements. All audience members are going to be on mute, so if you have questions, go ahead and enter them in the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen. You can also enter any questions about technical support in that Q&A widget. And all the other widgets you'll also see at the bottom of your screen, and there's different application widgets that you can move, you can resize, you can use them as needed, and that's again where you'll find that Q&A widget too. So we'll be monitoring and responding to those questions in that throughout the presentation, as well as during our Q&A section at the end. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Can everyone see the next screen? Everybody's seeing the Meet the Team slide? Pretty good. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jen Eichels. I'm the Talent Acquisition Strategist at CSC, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. And then joining us today, we have a group of amazing women from CSC who have awesome insights to share with you all about how to form a technical career path. So with that, I'll kick it over to Gina to introduce herself.
Thanks, Jen. My name is Gina Madusky. For everyone on the call, thank you so much for joining the call today. We are super excited to present our information to you. I have been with CSC for almost 12 years. I have the privilege of leading the talent acquisition team at CSC. We are responsible for filling positions all over the globe, including technology. With that, I'll kick it over to Audrey.
Hi guys, happy first day of Women's History Month. I'm actually Audrey Lespier. I'm the Director of Product Management, and I have been with the organization for going on 6 years. And prior to that, I was a customer of using the product for about 16 years. So I'm actually excited to join this panel of wonderful women to talk about how you guys can actually be influenced by some of our experiences.
Hi, everyone.
Bobby? Oh.
I can go. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Bobby Zupan. I'm in my 3rd year with CSC. I started with the company as a customer service associate, or CSA, which I did for 2 years. And right now I'm an associate software engineer with our core services team supporting our APIs that are in production. G3?
G3, are you still on mute? All right, we can come back to you, G3. I want to keep us moving along. It looks like there might be some technical difficulties. So we'll jump ahead, but just shout out when you're back on, and we'll come back to you. So to cover on our agenda today, we're going to talk through a couple different key areas to how you would get into technology and what some options are for women in technology these days, and share a little bit about CSC as well. So we're going to talk through different pathways into the technology field, key skills to develop, how you want to go about finding the right fit for the company that you might want to join, and some tips to bring your best self to an interview. And then, like I said, we'll save some time at the end to wrap up and allow you some time to ask questions in that chat panel. All right, so we're going to dive right into pathways into technology. And this is just a reminder that people who've been successful in the tech space have come from all kinds of backgrounds. There's not one single pathway to get into technology, and you'll hear from our speakers today about their unique path into the space. So I wanted to start with Bobby, actually, on this question to learn a little bit about your background, because you mentioned you were a customer service associate at CSC, and coming from a customer service experience and making that pivot is really interesting. So tell us a little bit about your pathway into tech.
Sure, of course. So I've always been interested in technology from as far back as I can remember, all the way back to writing and rewriting the HTML from my MySpace in high school. Out of college, I worked at Best Buy for 7 years, which they sell technology, if you don't know. And my favorite role was Apple Master. in that role, I was the live in-person user experience for Apple within the store. I was responsible for learning all about Apple's products and teaching that to customers. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. I was looking for a change, so I joined CSC, and while working as a CSA, the opportunity came across my desk to try for Zip Code. So I applied for and got into Zip Code, which is a coding boot camp. They focus primarily on Java, and post Zip Code, I've been working as a software engineer.
That's awesome. So a career development opportunity internally kind of got you into the space. You mentioned it came across your desk, but that is not how it works. You earn that stuff. So don't not give yourself credit for that. So Audrey, I know that you shared you had a pretty unique opportunity to get in based on being a customer or a user of the software. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. So I actually started off as a college graduate in the tax department and getting used to corp tax. And I used the product obviously along my career in different companies that I worked for. But for 16 years, I was a power user of the product as I grew in my work experience. And with that, I did a lot of internal training with new candidates that joined our team, or even for going to conferences and learning about new functionality that maybe we could leverage and simplify our processes and such. So I became that person. And I guess my team would probably say I was AKA like the corp tax nerd, as they would call me. And they really said, I think you're missing your calling. I think you really should work for corp tax. And, it just actually worked out that, that the lines actually, everything aligned where I was actually able to find an opportunity within corp tax. And now I'm the director of product management, which I've never had experience in product management, but I understood the product and I understood what the users were looking for. So that really helped me in my success as the director of product management.
That's awesome. So two really unique backgrounds that didn't start off by going to school for technology or anything like that, but getting into it based on, what's come across their desk. So, Bobby, really appreciate that story about just like to learn, got hungry for the learning and hungry for the tech. And then your passion, Audrey, for the product itself is really interesting. So lots of different pathways in. Gina, are there any other unique pathways that you've come across in the technical recruiting space that you wanted to share?
Sure. So I think similar to what Bobby shared and what Audrey shared, it's about your passion for technology. So we've seen people come in from customer service, from restaurant, from retail, a wide variety of backgrounds. And as you'll see kind of along in the presentation, there's a lot of those transferable skills that help with technology. So it's not a linear path into technology, lots of different backgrounds.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina. G3, I see you rejoined. Are you off mute? Can we hear you?
Yes, I'm able to work with the app now.
Excellent.
All right, great.
Welcome. G3, do you want to go ahead and give an introduction to yourself? And while you're doing that, share a little bit about your background and what inspired you to get into the technology space?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Gayatri. People call me G3 because it's easier and more funnier. I've been with CSC for the past 2.5 years now. I started as a team lead and progressed on to become a technology manager here. It's a great company to work for, and it's a great career path to choose, according to me. I'm specializing in the UI arena, a lot of web development, UI design, UI development, and a lot of things like that. And if someone's new to technology, this is a good path to dip your toes in, I would suggest. To give a little bit more background on where I am from. So I have been with computers, unlike Bobby here. So you get a perspective from both of us now. So I did my undergrad, master's, everything in computer science. I've been passionate about it since my high school. More driven probably because some of my family members, some of my friends, everyone were into computers. That's one of the main reasons probably. But also I have inherent passion for technology, probably developed from the school arena. it's a really good path to take. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. So the common thread there is, regardless of what path you choose, it's that passion for technology that really has to be there.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. So I wanted to shift over into talking about the key skills to develop if you're interested in getting into technology or taking this kind of path, or like some have said, kind of dip your toe into this arena. So different skill sets can really help you transition into the tech field or to kick off your career in technology. And many of these skill sets don't have to come from a specific tech background. They can come from different experiences that you might already have. And we call those transferable skills. So I'm going to kick it over to Gina to talk through some of those transferable skill sets, and then we'll talk to Audrey, G3, and Bobby about the skills that they found helpful and some of the more technical skills. So Gina, do you want to kick us off with those transferable skills on the screen?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Jen. So like Jen said, there's a lot. It's not a one-to-one ratio. There's some technical skills that the panel will talk through, but don't discount other areas that you have experience in. So for example, time management. So, things that can translate into technology is multitasking, being a self-starter, being able to kind of transition from project to project or to pivot when necessary. Things like critical thinking, so being extremely detail-oriented, being a tenacious problem solver, sticking with something until it gets solved or until it gets done. Having the ability to research a problem, I think, is something that has helped some of our technologists or some of our people that are newer into technology. And then don't discount the teamwork that you have, whether it's working on a small school project, whether it's working in a big organization as part of a cross-functional team, and being able to communicate clearly in both written and oral formats. And then I'll turn it over to the panel to walk through some of our technical skills.
I'll jump in. So for product management, as I mentioned, it is one of those areas where it's not technical as in I'm not coding with the developers, but I need to understand our users. I need to and be able to collaborate with developers and speak a language where we can actually deliver for our customers. So there's the time management pieces, as we talk through the grid, the time management piece is really critical to product management because we actually have to deliver, right? We actually have deadlines from a corp tax perspective. We are a tax software. We're helping our clients actually be compliant and file within their local jurisdictions. And so there's deadlines. So we need to make sure that we are managing our time wisely with our projects to deliver for our customers. So it's really important and really staying and prioritizing that work as we need to shift, right? We may need to shift gears and shift focus on things that maybe a client really needs to get through their filing season. So we've had to change priorities. So that touches on the teamwork. So it is very critical to our success that we can collaborate around all of our different teams and getting that product out to customers, understanding what the customer's needs are, supporting our customers, working with developers, working with the QA to actually get that product out to production. And the critical thinking. As in product management, we really need to think about our users. What is the ultimate goal that they're trying to accomplish? So that way we can think a little bit outside of the box as to how can we improve their process as to knowing what their end goal is. So it's really a lot of our focus. And on the TBS, corp tax side of the house, we're really a Microsoft driven, organization. So a lot of our work that we handle is within the Microsoft umbrella. And so that's something that we continue to focus on. So I would say for the skills to develop is really a drive. And, as I mentioned, I would have never thought of being in technology, if you will. It's the path and the desire of knowing that I support and believe in the product itself led me here. So, and most of my team have the tax background and not the product management background. And so we've all had to really learn and speak the different language than we were used to in talking tax code. Now we're talking software code. So that's what I would say about those different skill sets and how to develop them.
Awesome. Thanks, Audrey. Bobby or G3, anything to share in terms of the technical skills or any of these transferable skills on the screen that you really feel are important in your pathway?
Sure. I just want to give like an incident sort of. So like I said, I've been with computers from high school now, probably taken 10, 12 papers in there. But there has always been cases in which all that, I'm not discounting education, but sometimes it goes out of the window and you'll have to like learn something fresh. One of the technical skills we have listed, Angular, was not there 10 years back. So I did not take a paper on that. So that's something I had to learn on the. So there is always comes up in the arena. So as long as I have the other life skills like being a self-starter, being a good person, good detail-oriented and good in research, then you got it covered. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, I don't have a computer science degree, or I don't know the basics. So as long as you take a couple of programming background, then you should be covered. One classic example that we worked on right now is just analyzing a couple of tools. It does not need any background on programming or anything of that sort. We just Googled up the two tools and then tried to find out the pros and cons, a few things like that. That's pretty much it, and nailed down one of the tools. So it's not really, you don't really need a lot of background. The other things listed in here should get you covered. The life skills basically should get you covered for this roles as well.
Awesome. Thanks, G3. Bobby, how about you?
Yeah, they all hit the nail on the head. I 100% agree with them. I think if you want to talk about technical things, for my team and my job, Java and Spring Boot are probably top tier. HTML, CSS, Angular is stuff that our team uses. And it's something that I don't know that anybody has mentioned yet, is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you have to have a willingness to walk into a situation and maybe not know anything right off the bat, but be willing to dive in and figure it out. And change is the only consistent thing, especially in technology. We all know it's going to keep moving forward and it's going to keep changing. So really like being comfortable with the fact that you're probably going to be uncomfortable with a specific technical skill.
That's great. Yeah, I think when we were chatting before, you put it as that you need to learn how to learn. Like you need to get good at learning and figuring things out. And that was going to be my only kind of call out on this slide, is that all of those transferable skills on the screen, so the time management, teamwork, and critical thinking blocks, those are all skills that can help you no matter where you end up in technology. Like there are so many different ways to be in technology. You could be on the product side, you could be on the development side, you could be on the infrastructure side of things, so dealing with like web systems or information security. Like there are so many different ways that you can take it once you've decided you want to have a career in tech, and these transferable skills can help you throughout any of those paths. So all really great suggestions from the team here. With question for the group, so with the tech landscape changing and evolving and the business needs changing and evolving, are there any skills that you think that people should hone in on in order to be set up for success in the future, like forward thinking?
I would say ability to like adapt to change, like Bobby mentioned. So always be like open to like a change coming in, and anticipate new needs, follow up with some tech forums and see what's coming up next. React might replace Angular tomorrow. Python might replace Java tomorrow. So just keep up with some tech forums and see what's out there. That should keep you up to date.
Yeah, I agree. I would say it's really important to stay connected and really it's all self-learning, right? Where do you want to see yourself? And the knowledge out there that we can actually all get, have access to is unlimited. And so it's really a matter of what are you interested in and where do you have a desire to grow, and really owning that.
Awesome. So Gina, do you want to jump in and share a little bit about, so we talked about the skills that are going to be important, and both the ones that you could help develop now or the ones that you can start getting into to be forward facing. Where would we, and I know you mentioned this already a little bit, can you dive into that a little bit more, like where some of the skills can come from?
Yeah, for sure. So again, when thinking about getting into a career in technology, don't discount yourself because you don't have this degree or this experience or that experience. Those key skills can come from a lot of different areas. So, some of our successful candidates have come from an education background, right? They've been teachers, and they showed knowledge of learning new things. They showed knowledge of being part of a teamwork, are part of a team and can exhibit teamwork. I touched on this a little bit before. Retail, restaurant, hospitality. Oh my gosh, you have to be an extreme team player in those types of positions, and you have to be able to balance your work and be able to pivot when needed. Don't discount any sort of school projects or internships or any sort of professional organizations you've been a part of with school. They can be examples of things. If you've ever worked in a startup or any sort of consulting business, that experience can definitely transfer. You talk about being agile and being flexible. A lot of times you're required to kind of pivot and work on the newest thing or the thing that takes great priority in those types of positions. We've seen some successful candidates come from banking and financial services. Audrey talked about understanding the business of tax. Understanding the business of finance also greatly helps. So understanding banking, finance. We've seen successful candidates come from organizations that have sales or global accounts receivable, things like that definitely can be transferable. And the last one is the medical field. There's a certain personality where you're empathetic to people, you understand people's problems. We've seen that ability to translate well into like a business analyst pathway, and really being able to understand our product owner pathway, being able to understand the customer's needs, being able to translate that back to the development team. And those are just some. There's a ton of different industries and different fields that you can gain these skills from.
Yeah, and we talked about a couple of them earlier too, with just our today's cast and what our backgrounds are. So Audrey, you shared about being a customer, and so that could be an opportunity too to think about the technology you use every day. Are you passionate about any of those products or services that you could become an expert in? Bobby, you shared about you'd worked at Best Buy and worked, I think, at Apple or focused on an Apple product at Best Buy, something like that. And so your passion for that specific technology paired with the passion to deliver good customer service was a really transferable skill set and a good entry point. Good. Anything else anybody wants to share about where your skills can come from throughout different pathways into tech? All right. So let's dive into then those technical skill sets that we talked about, because we know while the transferable skills are important, there are some positions that do require a little bit of baseline knowledge on technical skill sets. So let's talk about where you could develop some of these skills. We know that there are various opportunities to build technical skills in free online courses. You'll see some of those links here, and our panel will talk a little bit more about those. We also have, depending on the company that you work for now or the company that you kind of join to launch your career in technology, some of those companies might have organizations that could help you, or you could look into these organizations on your own. CSC in particular has some really great partnerships with the organizations you see on the screen, like Zip Code Wilmington, Tech Impact, Code Differently, 1871. So those are all organizations that can help upskill you either through partnership with the organization or by reaching out to them directly and applying to be part of their program. Bobby went through the Zip Code Wilmington program, and that's where like the quick upskilling happened for you. Bobby, do you want to share a little bit more about your experience with Zip Code Wilmington from like that boot camp style training?
Of course. So I'll start it was the most challenging, but the most rewarding 3 months of my professional life thus far. Zip Code is a really awesome program with people who really care about helping you succeed. The program is 3 months long. It primarily focuses on Java with Spring, and they do have a fair amount of professional development, which kind of makes them stand out a little bit. Other boot camps might do that as well, but they put effort into you as far as getting you interview ready and stuff like that. They sprinkle in SQL, HTML, CSS, Angular, and React. And to anyone considering a boot camp, my advice would be going into it. Jen, you stole my thunder a little bit, is knowing how you learn will be invaluable. So there's a bunch of different ways that people learn, whether it's listening, reading, actually doing. And if you can figure the key to how you learn out ahead of time, you'll be way ahead of the game. I think they did that little class like 3 weeks in, and I even said something to them. I was like, guys, this needs to be like first, because it really helps knowing that. The point of boot camps, especially Zip Code, is to prove you have the capacity to learn coding. So with the capacity to learn one thing, with technology, a lot of times you can learn anything. I mean, you can always learn anything, because the skills to learn is what is the important skill. I would also highly recommend finding something you're passionate about, because Zip Code was tough, as I imagine most boot camps are, and you've got to find something to draw motivation from. No matter what it is, it's gotta come from deep down, because otherwise you're gonna have a really hard time.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
Sorry for stealing your thunder there. I knew you had a good tip about the learn to learn piece. I didn't want to miss it. I want to call out too, like, so you said, make sure it's got to come from deep down. So the other thing would be to make sure you do your research if you're looking to join one of these cohorts or boot camp programs, because they all focus on different things, right? So Zip Code Wilmington, like you said, focuses on Java coding. Tech Impact has a boot camp style program called IT Works that focuses a little bit more on more general technology skills. Like we've hired a bunch of interns from that program who have worked on our desktop support team or our digital workplace team. Code Differently is a little bit more code oriented. And so you just have to make sure you do your research to figure out what that pathway looks like and what the learning looks like to make sure it's something you're passionate about and ready to commit to. Audrey or G3, any other things that you want to weigh on from like a formal cohort or formal training, or anybody want to do a pitch for their favorite free online course from what's on the screen here?
Well, I will say, Pluralsight actually was beneficial to my team and even the project team. And the reason for that is because we didn't come from a product background, right? We were actually users of the product, and we were passionate about that product and really wanting to be part of the team that makes it as successful, continuing in success, right? And so with that, we would go to Pluralsight to really understand the works of being a product owner and what that responsibility entailed. So that way we can be not only successful in delivering to our users, but also successful in our role and understanding the complexity of delivering and some of the challenges that we would be facing there. So Pluralsight, I can't speak more highly about that tool for our team, and also the project owners of really trying to understand that, and also our developers. As G3 mentioned, there's times where we actually have to stay up with the times and really do self-learning And that's a great tool that we all use across organization and technology.
Awesome. Thanks for
I would
sharing.
just
All good stuff.
like to tag along. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just would like to tag along for Pluralsight. Okay, thank you. For Pluralsight and W3 Schools, all are great resources. But one extra recommendation from me from the development perspective is take the basic course in any of these up there, and then try to initiate a project on your own. Maybe it could be like something for your family that you're doing, or something for a restaurant. Your friend has a business, so you want to create a website for them. So just create your own project and then just try it out. That would be the best way to get the confidence. You still have to take a basic course, but then the actual confidence comes when you start up a real-time project. Then you'll be like, oh, I got this. And you know when to Google, and then you know when to go to the basics. You'll get the hang of all of that.
That's great. Do you ladies still utilize these resources? How do you go about continuing to build your skills? We know it's not something you learn once and then you're good to go, right?
I still use Pluralsight a lot, because as technology is changing, then I need to go in and take a refresher on some of either, like, you go back to one of the legacy technologies for some legacy apps, or the new one is coming up, so I'll have to go in and see what it is about. So yes, we still use all these extensively, even from the development perspective.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, and one of the things that you touched on was, from Tech Impact and hiring interns, is that's a great opportunity for those of you who are in school and you're really not sure where you want to land. If really trying to take advantage of some of the intern positions that we do open up in the summer and such for the within CSC, and get some exposure that way, so you can understand where it is that you really are truly interested in. There may be a passion, but you may, with exposure, it may shift based on that experience. So keep that in mind.
Awesome. Great.
I was going to add.
Nope. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to add, kind of tying into my know how you learn bit. So on that list, I actually still use Codecademy a lot. So Pluralsight is great. It is, but it's a lot of videos, and sometimes I can't focus on them. So my favorite is Codecademy and W3, but Codecademy a lot, because they teach you something and then they have you do it. They teach you something, then they have you do it. So it's building that confidence, like G3 said, because you're getting a little bit of the muscle memory, and then they encourage you to, hey, this is the end of the lesson, but here's some other things you can do. And I highly recommend following those. It does have a paid subscription, but there are free courses as well. And I believe Java is free. I might be a little biased, but Java is a really good language to start with, especially because it'll just help you get down the principles of object-oriented programming without going too deep into that. But that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's good to know that everyone still wants to follow along and stay up to date with what's new and what's coming out, and making sure your skills are always kind of polished up and ready to go. All right, we're going to pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about finding the right fit for you when you're ready to kind of get your foot in the door and start getting into the technology space. We've talked about this idea that technology really covers a lot of different areas. So finding the right role and the right company is important. And there was actually a question from the audience that this might cover a little bit, but I do want to make sure and ask this again during the Q&A section. But it was, if you're not really sure where to start in the tech industry, what's a good starting point or where you can find the right resources? So I'm saying that out loud for our panel because I'm going to ask that at the end. But I think that this slide is actually a good jumping off point to start asking yourself. So I won't get into the resources here yet, but I will answer that the first step is to figure out what interests you. Is and ask yourself those questions. So, is it the troubleshooting and problem solving that is really sparking your interest? Is it collaborating with others? Is it innovation? Is it specific to coding? Like, are you interested in learning a coding language? Or are you more about kind of that collaboration and problem solving in different ways, and you're not necessarily committed to learning that hands-on coding or hands-on technical skill set? And once you've kind of figured out what your interests are, then you can go ahead and ask yourself about the jobs that align with your interests and the jobs that align with your skills and experience. But it's the interest part that is first. As you've heard, it's really got to be something that you're passionate about if you want to succeed in it. So that's step one. And then you want to look at the jobs that are out there, as well as the skills and experience that you've developed, both transferable or maybe some of those technical skills that you've developed on your own. And the right job for you is going to be in the overlap of those three answers. So that's kind of the jumping off point, is to ask yourself what is really interesting you and what are you passionate about. And we like to talk through this because if you're that passionate about an area of technology, but you land at a company that doesn't either support those interests or doesn't give you those outlets to express what you're passionate about, you're not going to end up happy and staying in that role. Or if you're applying to jobs where your skill set isn't quite a good match, you might get in, but you might struggle. So you really want to look for where all of those three things sync up. I'm going to throw it back to the panel and ask, this is a panel of all CSC women employees. How did you know that CSC was the right place for you when you first joined?
I can start. So for me, I actually, as a user, I really believed that, CorpTax was the best tax software product out there. I had been exposed to other tax softwares, and I was just really passionate that I felt that we were best in the market. And so I really wanted to join the team and really continue that success and expand on it, right? And really have my own footprint with that. And there's a sense of ownership. And so I worked with different companies that had brands, and I'm a very brand loyal person, and so having that passion that I believed in the product that we are actually delivering to our customers made it easy for me to get into this role, and really wanting to succeed and listen to our customers and deliver the value, and really collaborating with all of the different teams within the organization was really beneficial and rewarding for me in this particular role. And awesome. As I worked with everyone, that is, when we connect, we leverage each other. And it's not that one person is the know-all and be-all of a particular area. We leverage each other's knowledge and try to collaborate and really brainstorm on how we can deliver. And so having that a good team foundation is really important to the success as you work with other people in the organization to really have that successful product.
Awesome. So you realized that the passion for customer service and the passion for teamwork was really important for you. And so that's what you looked for in a company, that you could tell that they were passionate about the customer service as an end user. And then when you joined, realizing everybody lifts each other up instead of walking all over people to end up in a successful place.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all believed in that product and the end goal. So absolutely, for sure.
Nice. Bobby, G3, Gina, anything else you want to share about kind of where your head was in finding a fit at CSC and what brought you here or has kept you here?
Sure. I'll go.
I can...
Oh. Go ahead, G3.
All right, let me go now then. All right. To me, like, I'm biased, obviously, but to me, UI is like, I consider that as a bread and butter for any organization, because when you go into and look at a website, and if it's like too old looking, and then you always question, do I really want to go in and sign up for a credit card here? If the UI is old, what if their security policies are old? So I always have that doubt in me. So I always think of UI as like a bread and butter for any company. And when I interviewed for CSC, they were like, okay, so you're going to be in a shared team where you have some control over like how the UI looks. You can make them consistent across apps, and you can make it better. So I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. So and teams were very cooperative, and when we were like pitching some ideas to make the UI look better, there was good inter-team connectivity and coordination. So all of that was like, all right, I can be here. This is a good fit for me.
And you recognized that during the interview process in how the interviewees were sharing the role?
No, I recognize the team coordination and things happened after. That made me stay in CSC, but the role itself, that I could recognize that, and during the interview process, I was like, yes, I like this role.
Awesome. So you knew your passion, and you knew that role was going to deliver that to you, and then you stayed because people are awesome here.
Yes, yes, exactly.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, it's been a number of years since I interviewed at CSC, but I think one of the things that keeps me here is CSC's ability to help me grow my career, right? So I'm leading the talent acquisition team now. They give me the tools and the skills that I need to help me be a successful leader, but also have helped me grow where I didn't think, looking back 12 years ago, I started as a talent acquisition partner, and my career wasn't a linear path right into the leader. I spent some time in the business. I spent some time as a human resources business partner. So they took some chances on me, and were there if I made mistakes. And that's just a nice feeling to be able to grow your own career and being in control of things.
And I will say that what initially drew me to CSC were the culture and the values. I really identified with the values. And you go into any company hoping that you'll be a good fit, I think. And I interviewed with 10 different people before I got fit here. And that was actually really important to me because they knew that they wanted me, right? We connected on a value level. So then they helped me find the right fit within the company. And then, like Gina said, helped me grow from there. So.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, everyone. I really think that hearing these individual stories is what helps kind of put it into perspective of a lot of the legwork and the thinking that has to be done before you make a shift to a new career path or to a new company. Figuring out that both you're a fit for the role, you're a fit for the company, and the role in the company is a fit for you is really important. So once you've done that research and looked at different companies, researched their values, figured out what they have to offer you, the next thing is to really prepare for the interview. And this is just some tips that we've put together that I think is just a really nice quick overview of the steps to take in order to prepare to bring your best self to an interview. And we like to call it that because that's the key, right? Is that you still have to bring yourself to the interview, because if you're putting on a false front or acting like you're not yourself, then the match isn't going to be correct, right? The company is matching to someone that's not you. So the first thing is to really be genuine and be prepared to bring your genuine self to the interview. Doing some additional research and prep. So you probably did some research on the company before you applied, but doing some extra layer once you've gotten the interview is really key. Researching the company's website, checking out their social media pages. Social media or sites like Glassdoor or The Muse are a great place to get a behind the scenes look and hear directly from employees about what it's like to work there. And while you're doing that, make sure you jot down some questions about what you might want to ask the people interviewing you. The third step would be to create your message. So think about the role that you're interviewing for. Think about those transferable skills and think about the technical skills that you've been working on and how you want to craft that message to share with the interviewers that here's what I have, here's what I'm doing, and here's how they can relate to the position that I'm interviewing. The fourth step is to practice. So think about some of the questions that you might get asked during this interview process and practice answering them. So get your words ready, maybe practice in front of friends or in front of a mirror or in front of maybe record yourself. And then lastly is just to get ready. And that's to make sure that you take the time the night before or the morning of to prepare yourself mentally before the interview. Make sure you get a good night's sleep, eat your breakfast, all those good things. Gina, anything to add there, or anyone else, any other tips to bring your best self to an interview from the panel?
No, I think always a good tip is if you can find out who you'll be interviewing with, taking just a few minutes to look up their LinkedIn profile to understand maybe how long they've been at CSE, or wherever company you're interviewing, what their position is, and if you have any questions about how their background allowed them to get where they are today.
That's a great idea. Check them out on LinkedIn.
One thing I like to add is the thing that I normally tell people is confidence. Confident that you actually can, you're the right candidate for that role, actually that goes a long way. And so I think that is one thing that I always tell people in the interview process is make sure that you feel confident that you're the right candidate, and that will come off.
That's great. And all that comes from that practice, right? And like lining up, okay, here's the skills I know they're looking for. Here's the skills I know I have. Let me tell that story. Great reminder. Also want to call out, so many companies are interviewing virtually these days. I think we have so many, we at CSC are doing most of our interviews virtually. So some reminders to practice by recording yourself on your phone, check to see if you sound enthusiastic and engaged, check your appearance, check your background, and make sure that the technology is working and what the interviewers can see behind you. There's not piles of dirty laundry. Those kinds of things are all important too, to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. And lastly, just want to kind of wrap up by sharing a little bit more about CSC as the host of this webinar. We are the business behind business. We've been around since 1899. And the reason we go by the business behind business, because it's who we are and it's what we do. Since 1899, we've grown all over the world, and we help establish companies, keep them in compliance, and protect and secure their brands online. So it's all behind the scenes work that help keeps businesses running smoothly and efficiently. You heard some of the panel talk about our values throughout this call and their alignment to those. Our 5 values are service, teamwork, tenacity, agility, and being genuine. And I think it's important here to note that at CSC, we live by these values. We hold our employees accountable to them. And I think that that's what really drives our culture and makes it a nice place that people want to stay and work. And values are always something you want to research before applying to any company and make sure you align with them. We are currently hiring for several different technology positions. A couple of them are highlighted here. So we do have an associate desktop engineer in Wilmington, Delaware, as well as an audio video engineer in Wilmington, Delaware. And then we're hiring for software engineers, both in the .NET and Java space, as well as a technical support engineer. And those are all over various locations or could be done remotely. So those are some of our current openings, and you can see the full list at cscglobal.com/careers. But we also regularly hire for different technology positions like business analysts, DBAs, infrastructure systems engineers. So that covers systems, desktop, middleware. We hire QA engineers, Scrum Masters, so we're an Agile shop, security engineers, and we also, I think Audrey mentioned, we have a robust summer program where we hire a lot of technical talent for a 10-week program in the summer. We have finished the hiring process for our internships at this point for summer 2022, but we'll be accepting applications for 2023 starting in probably November, December of this year. So lots of different opportunities across the technology space. And the best way to stay in the know about those opportunities is to follow us on social media. So we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the Muse. And now we have saved some time to make sure we go through some of those questions that you've been entering. And I want to start with the one that I hinted at earlier, which is, if you're not exactly sure where you want to be in the technology industry, what do you think is a good starting point? Or where could we find resources on the different technology areas? So throwing that back to our panel, any suggestions on where somebody could go to kind of blank slate, learn about the different career paths in technology?
I'd recommend talking to people. Talking to as many people as you can. So talking to, if you think you have a career in software development, talk to software developers. If you think you have a career as a business analyst, talk to the people that are in the job, that are doing the job, that can tell you kind of the good, the bad, the ugly. If you're interested in technology leadership, lots of leaders are willing to just take 15 minutes calls and share their experience with you.
That's a great point. And also joining groups. So there's, especially on LinkedIn, there's plenty of groups out there that are for specific areas. There's times where they may have a webcast that you can join, or even virtual groups that you can actually talk about or hear people talking about their experiences and things like that. And you may be able to ask questions and try to understand if this is even something that you'd be interested in.
That's great. If you're still connected to school, I'm not sure, where you are in your career, or if you're still in school, but there might be like alumni associations in the technology space or clubs on campus as well, if you are still in school. Otherwise, those LinkedIn groups sound like a great idea.
Yeah, I was also going to add, take some time and think about how technology plays a role in your current life, and what about it that you're interested in. Because like I said before, if you learn about any of it, you can learn about all of it. So if you have that capacity, it's transferable. So like, for example, I love Apple products. Was my favorite role being an Apple master. So taking the time to learn like how to write iOS apps. It doesn't matter that I don't use that every day. It doesn't matter that that's not my job. What matters is that I was passionate about it and interested in it, and I took the time to learn it. Google is your best friend. That's another thing. You can't be scared to Google things.
Awesome.
One more suggestion.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to go into the gray area of women entering into the world which is like more of, especially when you choose development path in the technology, is I'm just going to go into the gray area where women are going into the world of, which is more dominated by men. So one of my friend, she took some boot camp classes to amp up her skills. But she was like, the more beneficial was, at first I was reluctant to go into study groups because that was dominated by men. But then I was like, no, I need to go there. And then she learned a lot of things from there, like about job postings, what next to do, many things from there. So I think that's also something I would recommend. Don't be shy, just go into the groups where men are there as well, and just, no one's going to look down on us or anything of that sort. And if they do, it's on them, not on us. So I would highly recommend going into study groups with mixed folks. That would definitely help.
That's a great recommendation. Don't be afraid to join groups or to apply. That was a statistic I read a little while ago, was that men are much more likely to apply to job postings where they only meet, say, 50% of the skills, whereas women won't apply to those positions. So, for a Women in Technology focused webinar on the first day of Women's History Month, don't be afraid. Throw your hat in the ring, apply, and see where it gets you. What about the rest of the panel? Is there anything, traditionally technology has been viewed as a male-dominated profession or field. How have each of you navigated that? Any tips for the audience?
I will say for my purpose is it's really not hesitating to share your ideas. And the other part is not to hold back what you think is the right move, right? So we, as women, we seem to look for acceptance or approval, where in our mind we know it's the right decision and we hold back, and and so that's something that I think women generally, we can do better at to be more successful at where our career goes, whether that be you want to be an individual contributor, you want to be a leader, you long-term see that you want to run an organization, you know, what have you, whatever that goal is, it really does make a difference when you actually feel that you can take some ownership and lead that. And some advice that I received is don't be intimidated by someone smarter than you. That should be something that you want to achieve as a leader. You want to have people around you and to help you grow as a leader and be successful, and hiring people that are smarter than you is going to help you achieve that. So not to be intimidated by that.
It's a great tip. That reminds me too of what I was thinking. This didn't necessarily apply to technology, but could certainly translate, is that lift up the other women around you. You know, we already know we're at a bit of a disadvantage in that we're in a male-dominated field. So make sure you're lifting other women up instead of pushing them down. Like, it's not a competition amongst you. It's how can you help each other? So mentor somebody new in that space. Find a mentor who's a senior leader in an organization that can help you. So focus on lifting each other up, I think, is a good tip in any field, but especially in the tech space. Anything else on kind of the women in technology? I have one more question from the audience I'd like to get to, but I know this is a good topic. Any other last minute tips or call outs?
One last thing I would highlight in there is find allies in men, especially if your team is dominated and some of them are not responding to you as much as you would like to. Find allies, men allies, and then you'll be covered there to support your ideas, and don't hesitate. Like everyone else said, do not hesitate to speak up.
That's great.
I have two things. One, we all know that men have the audacity, right? So you need to have it. You need to don't hold back. Don't be afraid to speak up, kind of echoing Audrey and G3. And then kind of a more specific piece of advice is don't say sorry if you don't have to. So as women, we apologize a lot for a lot of things that don't really need an apology. So if you really didn't mess everything up, if the world's not imploding for it, you don't need to apologize. Just say, like if someone corrects you or gives you input, just say thanks for that and keep it pushing.
Awesome. Great tip. All right, so the last question from the audience is a question from a recent college graduate who'd like to get started in the working world. Any advice for those who are in the phase of trying to apply?
I'll take this one. I would say, use the guide of bringing your best self to the interview. It's a tough market right now, but it's also a lot in favor of candidates. So find the job that's right for you. Follow the company that you want to apply to on their social media so you can get those updates that Jen talked about. Make connections with people that work there. A lot of times, companies that hire will take employee referrals and kind of get them boosted to the top. So make friends with people that work there, find out their information. People will talk to you if you reach out. Audrey, I know you had something to say.
I did actually. Some of the advice that I actually received at one point is find at least 5 things that companies, some way, maybe even brands or what have you, 5 different organizations that you feel somewhat connected to, and jot down what those connections are. And you may find a pattern as to what that is that may help you find an organization that really aligns with what taps into your passion. And so I thought that was something that was interesting. And I didn't think about it that way, right? And thinking about what brands or whatever it is, or companies that, I interact with on a regular that I would enjoy something about, and what that is to align what, other companies I should be looking into.
Awesome. Great tips. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for today with just a minute to spare. So I want to thank all of our panel members for a great discussion. Thank everyone in the audience who dialed in to hear us out. Make sure to follow us on social media. We're all on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to reach out and start building your network, we're here for you. And thank you so much. Let us know if you have any questions that didn't get answered. Hope you have a great rest of your day and happy Women's History Month.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.